Hello, everybody. This is Two Queers in a Truck. And since we're losing a lot of freedom, I thought we would get the freedom song going. Hopefully, it'll become a comeback this summer with George Michael. But anyway, this is Two Queers in a Truck with Christian Cano and myself, Jenny-Jaymes, Gunn. Oh my gosh. I guess.
Hey, boo.
Hey, boo. They always say, may you live in interesting times. And I don't know about you. And we'll jump on the subject just in a second, but I think this has been the most controversial and interesting decade of my life. And, we grew up in Watergate and Reagan, and the height of the AIDS and HIV pandemic. I don't think any of that can hold a candle to the idiocy that we're watching unfold in our lifetimes. I really feel that, Republicans have done a good job of dumbing down America. They really have done a good job of that. It's becoming glaringly obvious that a 30 to 40 million of those hardcore, idiotic QAnon people, formerly known as Republicans, have just come off the rails. The stuff we're going to talk about today is just insane. By the way, this is Wednesday, May 18th. As it drops, it's just unreal.
I'm glad you caught that, Jen. I was about to type it.
I have said Two Queers in a Truck twice, but it's just,
I'm sorry.
It's just shocking that I didn't get hate though. It's surreal that we're in a new version of the Roaring '20s. That we're into that third year. It's felt like a decade already. I saw a TikTok over the weekend as I was working the Real Out Film Festival for Charlotte Pride, and they were making a God joke, and God was talking to one of his head angels and parceling out what's all going to happen in the 2020s, and the angel looked and said, "You meant it all in the 2020, right?" And it's felt like a decade every year since 2020.
And we're only 3 years into it.
yeah, we're not even we haven't even finished the full third year. We're this year with midterms and crazy stuff with the Supreme Court. It's like somehow the universal spirit is just saying, hold my beer and watch this. It's like, if we're ever going to find out what our country's made of, we're going to find it out in the next few years, I feel.
I agree.
These are make or break years, more so than ever before, because people are digging in, and some of the other side's digging in on some stuff they shouldn't be digging in on. But anyway, we will hit the first topic just to keep this going before we go off on one of our tangents.
We did so well on our other show. We were on time.
We actually
we're doing on this one.
I don't know about this one. Couldn't have seen this coming, part one. And we had 4 mass shootings over this last weekend, unfortunately. Of course, the more talked about one is the Buffalo, New York one, because I think, because of the age of the shooter being 20 years old, and I think, two, because of at least so far, the really unhinged things that this person believes, such as that, the white replacement theories and the deal. But before we jump into that, because I've got another topic that's covering the white replacement theory, I want to focus on this young man. I'm not going to even name his name. I'm not going to give him that kind of credence. We'll just call him a slimy murderer, shithead, and because we've enabled this. We've one side of our country has groomed people like this. We saw this with that scumbag Kyle Rittenhouse. We've seen this with other people who are mass shooters, and more they're justifying their existence. They're justifying why they shot people. They're justifying everything. And why, this guy, I guarantee he's going to believe he's going to get acquitted, just like Rittenhouse did. And you've got people like Tucker Carlson that are just stoking this racist fire, because this was based on racism and anti-Semitism, based on what this guy wrote, and based on what, and this isn't the first run-in with police or mental health officials as well. So he's already setting the stage, and I believe he was setting the stage. He's probably going to get acquitted off insanity. And I bet you anything, you just watch, I bet you he does not spend a day in prison for this. I bet you anything. I bet he gets the Hinckley defense like with Reagan, and just ends up going to a mental institution, and now makes music. I mean, the dude that shot Reagan, Brady, and all those people now makes YouTube videos making music. And
well, I hope that's not the case, Jen.
Shot Reagan.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Too bad he missed.
But I do have a question about this replacement theory, because I just Googled it, because I wasn't. I think we all have heard of things like this, from maybe some crazy white friends that we've had, who probably aren't very educated, but I've heard more of they're coming over, taking our jobs, that kind of like South Park kind of dumb, her taking our jobs. So this replacement theory, apparently it says it is a white supremacist theory from a French author. And the theory is, if I'm saying this correctly, that there are people here, Jewish people in power, Democrats, those people
homosexuals,
are purposely wanting illegal people to come here, so that way they can outnumber them and take over.
Well,
that's right.
And it's usually, and we're not bringing over like British people and Ukrainians. It's typically, they refer to them as third world, mostly third world people, usually people of color, typically people of color. This is why they're pushing the whole border politic thing so hard on our southern border, even though there's a ton of people that come across Canada every day into the United States and our northern border, and so many other ways. I mean, there's so many ways to get into this country. I mean, between the thousands of coastlines, little bitty boats just pulling up to the coastline, dropping somebody off, to people flying in legally and just outstaying their visa for whatever reason. They came here to work, and their country went to war, it happened. Those wars being fought all the time. So,
but Jen, this is my rebuttal to that one, and tell me what you think about it. So once again, their logic is, there are people that want to bring people here to take over this country, right? So that has to be based on a premise that they are so incompetent and so crappy that these people who aren't from here are going to come here and take over. Take over their job, whatever the case may be. So basically, what they're saying is, I'm so stupid that I'm going to lose my job to someone who's not from here.
The replacement theory is a little different than that. Replacement theory is more focused on voting. So
I see.
Theory is their idea. They were bringing in lots of people to actually vote fraudulently in the election. So this is an extension of the big lie, which they've been telling for Terms have been saying this for a long time. They tried this with Kennedy. They've tried this with obviously the most recent one, Biden. But this is not the first time conservatives in the United States have floated this idea that we're sneaking people in and that people were voting illegally, which is so bizarre because we've got 11 or pretty close to 11 million people sitting in detention centers to keep them from doing that. To not let them go until they become a citizen or they go back. And so it's bizarre that, one, we have an effective system. In fact, it's probably too effective of keeping the illegals at bay. But on the other hand, they're voting in elections somehow.
Yeah.
So it's very bizarre, or they're taking their job. The next topic is this is what happens when you look the other way. And this is specifically aimed at the abortion topic.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas I'm extremely concerned about losing reproductive rights, it's part two of you couldn't have seen this coming.
Yeah.
And I know trans advocates and trans rights people have been screaming this for years, especially since 2016. And we've been saying they're coming for us because we are the easiest, smallest target. And once they get it perfected, they're going to, and I've been saying this on the show the whole time I've been on the show. You can go back and and I've said this a million times. It has nothing to do with trans people. Because we're one of the top 3 fetishes according to Pornhub.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans love trans women. And so it's not about our existence. I promise you. I could go on Grindr right now and I can find 10 or 12 bisexual in the closet Republicans that are going to hit me up. It's nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with how do we figure out an argument to control people and take away their freedoms and their human rights. This is all about body autonomy, but more so about inalienable human rights. How can we be because what comes with that is the power to control elections, money, ability to navigate our economy, ownership of things like cars and homes and everything that would give you the access to free markets and freedom.
Sure.
And once you can start unrolling all these hard-fought arguments we've been having since 1619 for 400 years, there's nothing more powerful than a white man on this land from 1619 on. We started our country as a dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
George Washington was a dictator, not a president. He won 40,000 votes out of 30 million people, but only 43,000 men, white, cis, landowning, wealthy men could vote for it. Mm-hmm. He won 100% of that because he was a war hero. And so a lot's changed since then because 2 presidents ago we elected a black man.
So here's my pushback to what you said. My pushback would be, I use one of your words.
Right.
I'm learning from you.
I'm teaching.
Here's my pushback. We only have 2 options. This is I'm thinking, this replacement theory thing is ingrained in these white supremacists. Apparently, this article I'm reading for ABC News today talks about.
We're talking about abortion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Next.
The next topic is going to come back to that. So right now I'm talking about losing human rights and body autonomy. Stay with the class, please. You're not quite ready yet. I got it. You just. Did you not wear cream and a hat over the weekend? Were you out in the sun?
Never mind.
You're a little dehydrated, a little parched. Maybe kick back off the tequila and do a little water. Exactly. But anyway, I love you. Big old great. But yeah, I mean, the in 2016, both Republicans that got elected in those years lost the actual vote. They both only got a minority of the vote, and with a little bit of action, with a little bit more push from, I'm going to say it, white moderate women that are either enablers or they allow or they look the other way, as long as it's not affecting them. I find a lot of white women in the Democratic Party, for example, are fairly low-key racist. And they may not own it, but I saw this weekend, like, was hanging out at the film festival, and while the films were going, of course, we have a lot of time to talk outside in the box office. I was talking to 2 ladies, white, cis women, lesbians, that were just oohing and on about Jeff Jackson. And oohing on about him being so brave and going through all 100 counties of North Carolina. I said, well, it sounds like a lot of what Beto did in 2018. And they kind of looked at me and I said, yeah, he just copied what Beto did. He didn't come up with that himself. I mean, he literally photoshopped Beto's campaign in 2018 against Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
And he couldn't even get out of the primary with that because he was going up against a very qualified black woman. And then they kind of cringed a little bit. And right away, that's all and they're not unusual. I'm not picking on these two people. I won't name their name. But I'm part of a chat group on Facebook that has about 2,000 area progressive, and I use the air quotes, moderate, mostly white women, and there are enablers on there. And I brought up some transgender issues last year, early in the year. J.K. Rowling's and her super transphobic sayings and a bunch of other stuff. And these women are defending their guilty conscience of why they still watch Harry Potter movies and buy the books and all that. Long story short, I found out real quick most cis white women don't have my back.
Yeah. Hey, haven't I been saying that since 2018?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but yours is for other reasons. But anyway, we will go on a break and we'll come right back on that note.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
And anyway, one of the realities is that you don't see these huge protests defending trans kids. And we've seen multiple states take away all transitioning rights for trans kids in multiple states. They're now law. Arkansas, Alabama, many of the River Tucky states up by Montana, are almost all of them are methodically taking away those rights without hardly a fight from white, moderate Democrat women. You don't see any protests. The moment they lose something, they come out in the millions. And I'm going, well, welcome to the party. Welcome to the fight. You let us get to the point where kids can't even go to a therapist in Alabama. It's a felony if they even say, well, I need to be able to figure it out. Nope. Your parents are going to go to jail and you're going to be taken away. Texas, same thing. They're ripping kids away from their parents through social services. Like the parents are feeding them meth or something. No, we're taking you to a therapist because you need help. Because that's what every adult and minor trans person needs to go to therapy. They need help. They need ability to sort this out. Huge fan of therapy. As we saw in the Buffalo shooter, needed some therapy and not a gun. Topic number 3, tinfoil hat, tinfoil hat, supersized. Over the weekend, we talked about it a little bit earlier about the Buffalo shooter. So a lot of the things that were written in his manifesto, and this is where we're coming back to the white replacement theory, is that he wrote about the white replacement theory and supposedly Democrats are importing people of color from third world countries. He also talked about the white genocide being enacted by Jewish people here in this country. And black people, black families are getting paid $700,000 a family in this country. This was all posted on Twitter, and they posted what he wrote in his shooter manifesto, or whatever you want to call it. I call it paint chip crazy. But yeah, so one of his things is the $700,000 per black family. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of black people chiming in on that article. They said, well, when am I getting my check? Which isn't funny, but it is kind of funny. But this is how far, and this guy didn't make this stuff up himself. This is being fed by people like Tucker Carlson, because after the El Paso shooting, he was floating out this white replacement theory. And of course, it's been around even longer than that but typically
Mm-hmm.
people just didn't say it out loud because it sounds as crazy as it sounds, that we're purposely importing people to counterbalance white voters.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going, you know how many Cubans vote Republican, for example?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's true, then why did Reagan legalize all those Cubans?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I mean, this was 40 years ago. That was in
Mm-hmm.
our lifetimes. And I'm going, you know how many Republicans have legalized mass groups of people? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Reagan legalized a bunch of Russian refugees, a bunch of Cuban refugees. In fact, it was very controversial when Reagan did that. It's one of the reasons a lot of Cubans vote Republican is because a lot of their families became citizens under Reagan. And, so I think it's interesting and ironic that this cockamamie theory, when Republicans and Democrats have both had people coming in our country and getting legal citizens, it's before there was a Republican Party,
Yeah.
I just like, would we notice millions of people of color just infiltrating our cities? Like, are we I mean, seriously, heck, police can notice when your blinker light is out, much less if we all of a sudden we had 500,000 people of color moving to Charlotte to take over and place all the white people here. I don't know. I know we're not perfect, but I'm pretty sure we'd notice that.
Well, I think what I was going to say, and I guess I can say it in this section.
Yes, this
is I can't wait. When the pendulum goes like this and it feels like it's gone like this,
right.
When it starts to come back, I can't wait for people to start saying, and maybe even a candidate, someone who's going to run it, they'll win, to say, you're right. That's what we were trying to do and we won. So now when I get elected, I'm going to make sure that continues and that you white trash people, we're going to get rid of you. We're going to take over your land. We've already succeeded. Just like you said, that was our goal and you didn't realize it and we won. And that's what we plan to do. So you have two options. You can either just shut up or we're going to continue. I almost say you have to fight stupidity with stupidity. I know no one would really do it because we don't work that way, but it would be funny to see someone saying, you're right.
It would be
funny. And the gay mafia is helping them.
Yeah, like when somebody's acceptance speech, let's say they've already won and they get up to the podium and they go, yeah, we're moving all the indigenous people off the reservations and we're putting white Republicans on the reservations. We're taking your homes, we're taking your guns, and we're moving you on. And of course,
and your Bible,
especially your Bible. We're going to enact Sharia law and all kinds of other stuff. It literally, I say, I'm a right. My uncle Rufus, he told me in our grandma's basement all about this, that white people get replaced. And my cousin wife, she told me that too. She heard that at a mom's group, and we took over the school board. They didn't fix a thing. My kids are still dumb. And it's just unreal how stupid they sound. Like if you just walk through the steps and you go, well, if we're bringing in millions of people, because they're saying millions of people. I don't know where we put them. B, it's just so bizarre. If you walk through the logic, you go, we noticed that. Like you just, it'd be one of those little pesky details you would notice. But
that's how good we are. That's how good we are. We're so good that you didn't even notice.
We're like the Madagascar penguins. You didn't see anything. We just replaced y'all like the body snatchers that we are. I do agree. Republicans have been really good at dumbing down a certain part of America. Like you talk about defunding, and they've won on defunding the school system because we've got a portion of our population like this dumbass up in Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's just so dumb. I didn't even know how he even figured out how to load the gun. Like, this dude was dumb. I mean, to believe this kind of crap and just, I don't even know if it's insanity. I think it literally is just this dumb.
Yeah.
And MTG proves it every day. Well, Tucker is selling the idea of obedient voters. So again, we're back on the subject of replacement theory. And he literally said on a show in 2019 that Democrats are bringing in more obedient voters from third world countries. He literally said that on the air. I'm sure he said it before, but Tucker's made a living. It's become his show's become the number one on cable TV for a reason, selling racism, selling anti-Semitism, and selling all these ideas. I guess except for he's not anti-gay anymore based on the new video he put out. But anyway, he definitely has sold the racism bill of goods and is just beating the drum to death. And but clearly in the clip, and I watched it today, they reposted it on Twitter and said that the people coming in are more obedient, air quotes. And I'm going, and that was right after the El Paso shooting, of course, so it obviously there was very anti-Latinx overtones there. And, again, going back to what Trump says about, the Latinx community and his disparaging remarks is just unconscionable. But here we are. Here we are with a guy driving up to Buffalo, New York, 200 miles from his home for two reasons. One, that he felt like the Buffalo police wouldn't shoot him because they're a little bit more conservative part of New York, and they wouldn't shoot a white, suspect. And two, he picked a historically black area to do his rampage, which A, says that it's premeditated and he's not that crazy, and B, that he's one mean son of a bitch and needs to be put down like the dog that he is. Maybe the first time I am actually in favor of a death penalty.
I want him to. I'm not afraid that he's going to get off, and the reason I'm not afraid of that is because he will be put in jail for something. You would think that at least be murder. I mean, he obviously murdered people. Let's say hypothetically, and I hope this doesn't happen, but let's say hypothetically that he does get put in a mental hospital or gets put in a jail for a while. I assure you, there will be rough justice done to him one way or another. In prison, in the mental hospital, someone will get to him.
Well, we had
whether it's a family member, someone will get to him.
3 white shooters in Atlanta almost got away with murder. Great.
Yeah.
5th prosecutor got assigned to it, and so much national news. Or that wouldn't have happened. Those guys, all 3 of those guys would have gotten off with video footage showing them slowly stalking him and closing in on him in military-style tactics. We watched George Floyd's killer almost get off, but he didn't. But it was a hell of a trial. And we watched Kyle Rittenhouse walk into Kenosha's
I still think
blood shot 3 people and 2 people died. And
I still think Kyle Rittenhouse is going to get
trial, and the person that really stood on trial was one of the shooters. Had some charges against him for indecency with a child or something like that, and they justified the shooting in white conservative America is that Kyle Rittenhouse did him a favor. And I believe that they're going to justify somehow, some way, that shooting people of color is going along with fighting against their human rights to keep this replacement theory from coming true. I believe that they're going to claim that he's insane, but he's not wrong, just like Charles Manson. But Charles Manson went to prison for life, but those were different times. Right now, we're living in a Trump. We live with a Trump SCOTUS. We live with a Trump mentality. Even with him out of the office, these most powerful person in our country until we decide we want to take our country back. I do believe the Buffalo shooter will not see a day of prison time. He will not.
Well, but someone will get to him.
Well, Kyle Rittenhouse is over there making money. Made millions of dollars.
I think Kyle Rittenhouse, something will happen to him in the next 5 years.
Yeah, but the damage is done.
Because no, I know. And the reason I think that is because the millennials and the baby Zs are not like us. They believe in an eye for an eye. They're not as polite as we are. And I believe, I think that the sense that I get from the younger generation is they will get justice one way or another. And I do think that situations like this, for his safety, he needs to be put in prison, because if he's not, something will happen to him.
I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay.
I'll die on that hill. But on that note, we do have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Hope you tune in to Two Queers at a Truck. It comes on right after Coffee and Pandosi. Appreciate you always watching and being there for us. I hope we can entertain you and be in your homes or wherever you listen to us. We're also on Spotify and many other places where you receive your podcast. So thanks for listening. Bye. Have a great week.
Bye, boo-boo.
And we are back. I am not a gay man. I'm a rapist. Madison Cawthorn said that dry humping or humping his cousin's mouth in that video is not gay sex. And so essentially he's saying he forcibly just put it in his mouth because he likes non-consensual sex, but it doesn't make him gay.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of the most bizarre. I don't even know if there's a defense in there. I don't know if it really makes him less gay that he dry humped his male cousin's mouth or any of the other stuff that he's done. But it's really bizarre that he went that route. And he did claim, that he was raping him. Yeah. Clearly, if it wasn't consensual sex, the alternatives is forcible, unconsidered sex, which is not sex, it's actually rape, it's sexual assault. So either his cousin needs to answer back and file charges against him for unconsensual sex, or the other alternative is it's consensual. And that they were having a good time and playing around, and they obviously were having a pretty good time. They videotaped it for the whole world to see. Which is bizarre in itself. If I was going to hump my cousin's mouth, I probably wouldn't videotape that one. Just note to self. For all you young people out there that want to hump your cousin's mouth, do not record it. Do not record it. And then he says, off. I just hump away, y'all. Pride Month is coming up.
I obviously grew up pretty sheltered, because apparently he said all of those people in his party, if they had cell phones when they were growing up, they would have been caught doing the same thing. So apparently that's pretty common.
I can say without a shadow of a doubt,
yeah,
all of my cousins have not been humped by me. I can promise you. I am cousin sex free. I did not grow up in Mississippi or Alabama. Apparently North Carolina too. There's probably a lot of crazy things that happened in some of our family gatherings. I don't know. But that wasn't one of them. Inter-cousin sex that happened on the other side of the family, but especially on the more redneck side of the family. They may have, but we definitely didn't break out the camcorders at that time either. Like that. His defense is like his. Oh, if everybody else grew up with camera phones and, no, there's tons of people that don't hump their cousin's mouth and they grew up in the same. I mean, we don't have pictures of AOC straddling her cousin's face. I mean, like we don't have, any of the jihad squad, as they call them. We don't have any videos of any of those ladies doing anything salacious. We don't have any stories like what Bobbert did or MPG did. Like, if you compare that same generation of House of Representative people that came in at the same time, both on our side and the other side, compare and contrast the class of AOC and all those other ladies that won in 2018 compared to the wackos that won in 2020. I mean, if any of our people did what Bobbert's husband did, which show off his penis at a bowling alley, if AOC had a husband and he did that, they'd be putting her in a catapult and launching her out of Washington, D.C. And any of the others, or Nancy Pelosi, or anybody in the Democratic Party did anything similar to what any of these fools have done.
And Jen, that's why I don't think as we move forward, like the next couple of years, I don't think being an elitist or being highly educated is actually a bad thing. I think that we have to basically say, yep, we are the party that's a little bit smarter than you.
Yeah.
That is the trailer trash, humping their cousin party. And if that's what you want, that's the party you should go to. If you want a normal kind of,
I mean, it's just got to the point where they're writing our jokes for us. I mean, they
exactly. That's my point.
The moment any of these people open their mouth, it doesn't matter. Bobbert, MTG, Matt Gaetz, all of them are just either rapists, pedophiles, swingers, cousin humpers, or whatever. Or it's just like
cocaine orgies.
The perfect thing is they make all these accusations about us.
Mm-hmm.
And even the queer candidates that we have in our party, like the governor of Colorado, a man married to a man, governor of Colorado, and made the state highly successful during his governorship. And nobody's up in arms about him, and he doesn't even make that much news anymore.
Yeah,
because the other side of the ledger is so loud and is acting so stupid that an openly gay governor doesn't make the news even today.
Yeah,
we don't even really talk about that anymore. Like,
I had forgotten all about that.
I mean, we have an openly gay governor.
Yeah.
In a quasi redneck state, Colorado, one side of it's pretty redneck and pretty Republican, and has been highly successful, balanced the state budget, done a whole bunch of huge achievements there. And not a word is said. Pete Buttigieg, is Secretary of Transportation, and there's nothing really said about him, and it's just really, really bizarre. That just tells you how far they've sunk. It just tells you how far the Republican train has gone off the rails with their kookery and chicanery. Oh no, what a travesty. The SCOTUS has hurt their reputation with a leak. Clarence Thomas, Mr. Integrity himself, especially according to Anita Hill, is just lamented over the weekend about how the SCOTUS has lost all their integrity by leaking the proposed Roe versus Wade, basically the ruling that's going to destroy Roe versus Wade. But yet his wife on January 6th was encouraging Trump to call martial law, was stoking the fires of sedition, his own wife. And then he has the gall to talk about integrity. And that doesn't even talk about all the things that she did as a secretary, working under Trump, at all the shady business deals that she was involved with and everything else. Clarence Thomas wouldn't know integrity if it bit him on the butt. And I mean, we're talking about a person that sexually harassed another professor. And this guy has the guts. Like, this is somebody, again, I'll go back to term limits. Our SCOTUS needs term limits. If a Clarence Thomas is still up there and calling about integrity, we need term limits. I mean, it would cure a lot of problems. And you're still muted too. You're still muted. You're still muted.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
That was probably for the better.
My lip reading wasn't real good.
I said I agree with you. I agree with you. Hey, I didn't know this, Jen. Shows you how much we learn from each other. The governor of Colorado married his partner of 18 years last September.
Yeah.
He was the first sitting governor to have be in a same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
I did not know. How did we not know that? Or how did I not know that?
I did. And in fact, I think I posted about it a little bit.
Okay.
But that tells you how crazy a time we live in.
No, exactly. It's an excellent point, Jen.
An openly gay governor marries his longtime partner, and it barely got third-page note recognition. But it wasn't a scandal. It wasn't, which is both good and bad. The fact that we've normalized same-sex marriage, and we've gotten to that place in society where it's like, no, he married who he loves. And it's not a big deal for most people. But also at the same time, no matter what, because, same-sex marriage hasn't been legal for that long. Since 2015, that we have so many loudmouths in the Republican Party. It's just like every week they say stuff, every day almost. They say such inane, idiotic, the stuff that our favorite person, Lady Ted Cruz, was saying over the weekend, and just battling on. That one moment he was making fun of people in the Republican Party
that kiss up to Trump.
But yet, at the same time, after he insulted his wife in 2016 when he was his opponent, he's been licking his boots ever since and saying how great Donald Trump is. It's like, who's the real Ted Cruz?
Ted, I know people think that Ted Cruz is going to, I don't know, he'll run. He's like Jeff Jackson. He just likes to run. He likes no. I mean, there are some people that just like the adulation and the celebrityness of running. For some people.
I just love the fact that you got another Jeff Jackson. Like, I think, how many shows have we done where you've not gotten a Jeff Jackson shot in? Like, this one good rip shot just
he's my new Dan McCready.
I can't quit you.
I can't quit you.
But no, you're right. Ted Cruz, when he's not getting the news from, escaping Cancun and letting Texans freeze on his watch, or saying something really stupid, or letting his wife just get insulted by his opponent and then kisses his ass for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
It's just unreal how weak and how pathetic he really is. I mean, he is just like, he's in desperate need of a spine donation. Like, he is a bad sack of a sycophant that shouldn't have been in office, should never have been in office. Again, I'll go back until somebody proved me wrong. Term limits. Like, this dude should have been termed out a long time ago. He's a total absolute embarrassment to Texas. Not that John Cornyn isn't, but at least John Cornyn has at least a half of a brain. Like, Ted Cruz is just dumb.
Yeah, but you know what, Jen? This goes back to what I've said. The reason Ted Cruz, the John Cornyn, the difference is Ted Cruz is a dick. I mean, he's.
I'm not going to fight you on that one.
No, he is, and you can tell he's just this arrogant prick, and he's just like this queen at the place that you just want to say, "Shut the heck up," and that's him. And he's just a big old flamboyant. Yeah, and he thinks that scraggly looking beard that he wears from time to time.
I guess somebody told him that he looked too. Maybe he does have a weak jaw.
Yeah.
He looks like a turtleneck that just didn't quite get finished. But he looks like Eddie Munster and I don't know, Jabba the Hutt had a baby that would be Ted Cruz. But that's what's so.
But that's what's so. To me, it's just so funny about Ted Cruz is that he's in the Republican Party. He is in a party currently that is really the home of white supremacists, people who don't like people like Ted Cruz, you know? And so he is trying so hard to be a bro, you know, one of them. And it's so for me, when I look at that, it's just, it's like kind of when you say it's just you just know there's one of them going, whatever, Raphael.
Yeah, well, you know, they've been beating this drum of, you know, racism for so long, and you know, now floating this theory of the replacement theory. I'm going, well, literally, Ted Cruz replaced some white dude.
Exactly.
I mean, otherwise there'd be a white guy in that seat for the Republican Party. He literally proved their point.
Yep.
Put us in their own party, and you're exactly spot on. It's so bizarre that it's almost like he doesn't realize he is a minority that is rooting for the oppressor.
Yes.
And enabling white supremacy with an authoritarian former white Nazi Klan member, psychopath of a former president, and he's literally rooting for him. Rooting for him and going, let me lick your boots one more time so when y'all completely take over, you won't shoot me first. It's just, I don't even know. It's the most bizarre thing ever.
And he thinks, but there are people like that. He thinks because he's married to a white woman, that makes him privileged like white people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
There was a lot of people in Nazi Germany that thought the same thing. They never would have believed that they got taken off to camps. But if these people had any ability to round us up, they would. I have no doubt about that. We've had a history of that. Ask all the indigenous people. Ask all the Japanese Americans during World War II how that worked out for them. And you know, they have a history of that type of oppression. The Nazis learned how to build concentration camps because of our reservations and how we treated indigenous children, especially. They saw how we abused and murdered indigenous kids and still do. And I mean, they learned that from us. We didn't learn that from them.
Yeah, well, it's Ted Cruz.
He's literally a walking hypocrisy.
Yeah.
It's just
that's a whole party. Yeah.
Yeah. But that we've been out of time for about 4 or 5 minutes. So on that note, we covered a lot of ground, and I guess the theme of the day was replacement theory. If we don't know what it is, look it up. It is
exactly
many of the crazy things that the 2022 edition of the Republican Party has been spouting off about. It's hard to believe that anybody with 2 cells of brains could even spout that as a legit theory. And on that note, we'll leave with a little bit of freedom while we have left. Bye, y'all. That's close to Babu. Thanks for watching, everybody, and tuning in to Two Queers and a Truck. Next week will be the last episode of the month before Pride Month, so tune in. We might have a surprise. Bye, boo.